Hello, friends. I am that I am. Sarah of Sovereign Mind and biologically sovereign domain. I took a break to record Samadhi and the End of Suffering video with Katumi and the yogis, those who shall not be named. Most of them don't even resonate with a name. They don't use their life force energy to create a fictional persona. But here I am using my life force energy to animate Sarah, who can't even be described as a person, place, or thing. And I have no slides, I have no plan, but I have a lot to say. Having no plan and having a lot to say is an interesting experience. I'm in my house in Mexico. We were supposed to get a hurricane, and Katumi said, "Oh, don't worry, don't worry," and it went the other way. So, every morning I thank all my electronics for working. Something that those of you in first world countries take for granted. I don't thank them for working because I think that will keep them working. The end of acting for an effect, the end of causation, cause and effect. No, I just am so thankful for the technology that we have here today. And then I could communicate with all of you, and I can continue the Summer of Softness Series. It's actually winter on the other side of the world in Australia and New Zealand and other places, Patagonia. And so winter, we have Summer of Softness, alliteration, 2 S's. So for those of you in the winter, we're going to call it watery winter, the fluidity of water, right? So I have a lot to share with you today. I have a Yeshua story, and I was going to type it out, but I didn't feel like it would do it justice. So I have my mad scientist stack of books over here. I have a very large library in my Mexico house. If you come to one of our events, you will see it and get to dig through all of the books. So today we're going to talk about Jesus, or Yeshua, and what he has to offer us today, and then I'm going to connect the dots for all of you. So if you're familiar with Bible stories or stories of Yeshua, he was called into the wilderness, into the desert, for 40 days and for 40 nights. So he fasted. He didn't drink any. This is a metaphor. I'm not telling you to fast. I think you guys know that, but just in case. He didn't have any food or water for 40 days. And he's starting to come back from the wilderness. And then the devil, or Satan, which is just ignorance, or the great cosmic delusion we call Maya here, which is duality. Maya means duality. The great cosmic delusion. The great cosmic delusion is that you are separate. So anytime I say Satan or the devil, I'm really talking about the great cosmic illusion of being separate. The ego in its fixed form. So Yeshua, he comes down out of the wilderness, right? And the devil, the cosmic delusion, is waiting to tempt him. So I'm going to read you something from one of my favorite books. Don't think you're going to buy this and devour it like you would a regular book. It's a lot. I have long conversations with Yogananda about how he put this together, and it really is just this beautiful digest. It's 2 volumes. Yeah, it weighs like 10 pounds. So at the beginning of each little chapter, he has like a little summary. I'm going to read it to you. This is from The Second Coming of Christ, The Resurrection of the Christ Within You, Volume 1, by Paramahansa Yogananda. I'm reading to you from the direct Bible verse. This is the Testament according to Matthew, the disciple Matthew. Then was Jesus led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. Maya, duality, separation, using your life force energy to animate a fictional persona. Ego rather than we-go, right? And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward and hungered. So anyhow, he was hungry. Él tiene sed y hambre. He was thirsty and hungry. And when the tempter, the cosmic delusion, came to him, the devil, Satan, whoever, said, if thou be the Son of God, if you are really, truly the Son of God, command that these stones be made into bread. So he's starving. He's thirsty. Jesus is still a human. He is divine and human combined. There's a human Jesus and there's the Christ consciousness, just like all of you have your own Christ consciousness and your human persona. But Jesus kind of figures out what's going on. And you know, if you're really, really hungry and you eat a piece of bread or a loaf of bread, guess when you're going to be hungry again? 1 hour later, right? And could Jesus turn the stone into bread? Sure. Of course he could, right? He had really become adept at these miracles. Not in the way people took them, but we'll get into that another time. So Jesus answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. This is really about energy and consciousness coming together and new energy creation. The word that comes out of the mouth of your God also, right, of the God self, you, the big you, big Y-O-U, right, it produces its own energy, its own life force energy. We covered this in the Fountain Within in the last Living in the Garden of New Life channel with Katumi, right? So the devil says, just so we can go over it, and I've got you all with me, the devil says, if thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made into bread. And Jesus says, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Then the devil took Jesus up into the holy city, and he set him on a pinnacle of the temple. So he flew him, and then he set him down on the temple, and said to him, if thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down. So he'd flown him up, he's on top of the roof, and he said, if you're truly the Son of God, then you can just cast yourself back down. If thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down, for it is written, he shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. So he's saying, if you're really the Son of God, you'd be able to do X, Y, and Z. Wait a second. When we first did the Summer of Softness Series video, right, I talked about the emails I'd get in my inbox. There was the, if you were X, then you'd be X, Y, and Z. If you were really enlightened, you'd do X, Y, and Z. And it's constantly changing, right? The devil is this cosmic delusion that there is a set in stone pathway for you being you, right? The guy who would email me over and over again, he said, if you were truly enlightened, you wouldn't have a dog. You wouldn't go surfing. Listen to the devil in here. The devil says, if thou be the Son of God, you would do X, Y, and Z. If thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made into bread, right? It's the exact statement. The guy emailing me that I talked about in our first Summer of Softness video, it's not him, right? It's this ego when it takes over and it's the cosmic delusion, right? It's the veil, evil veil, uses the same letters. One of you sent me that. Yes, it does, right? It's just missing the mark. Adyashanti in the book Resurrecting Jesus, which is quite good. This same story is in Adyashanti's audiobook. It's chapter 3. Thank you to the lovely Jen who sent me that so I didn't have to look it up, right? So this temptation, right, to feed your human hunger, right, is really about the identity's need to reinforce itself, right? And that's how the person emailing me is trying to reinforce their identity of a supreme being who knows all. They probably had their realization and then the ego latches onto it and hangs on for dear life, right? But Jesus knows that his hunger and his thirst are not going to be quenched by using his powers in a way that's not in line with the cosmic Christ consciousness, right? And the delusion would be the hunger and the thirst. You know, another way to put this is in Keyhawk a while back, and even in one of the shouts, Adamus Saint Germain said, you're going for a few coins rather than the treasure, or what he called tresor, right? So if Jesus turned the stone into a loaf of bread and then like devoured it, he would be going for a few coins rather than the treasure of allowing the Christ consciousness to flow through him, in which every need is met because you don't even have earthly needs so much anymore. Right? So turning the stone into bread, the temptation to turn the stone into bread, to quench the hunger of the ego, of this unsovereign biological form, right, would be taking I'm begging, right? It'd be the beggar taking 3 coins, taking the job that doesn't really serve them, instead of going for the treasure. You know, recently it's come to me that keeping my Patreon page going is not the best way for me to support you all and be the witness in your full embodied enlightenment, should you want the support, not your human, but from the grander sense. And, you know, I get a steady paycheck, pretty steady, it goes up and down as people get, if you are going to do this, as people get big, hard and soft, the money fluctuates, but it's a steady income. But if I kept doing it and ignored my inner I am God also voice, just to have a steady income, I would be turning the stone into bread. You eat the bread and then you're hungry again. I see I don't know if men do this, they just don't post it online, but on the 5 minutes that I'm on Instagram, I see these lovely, beautiful, realized beings begging for a few coins through attention, specifically male attention, right? Oh, it'll just take the pressure off of me if I have another boyfriend, or I go through this thing again. It's really hard as a young woman who, you know, has a sex drive, who has an attraction to men, to realize that there aren't going to be any dudes out there that really fulfill them for more than 5 minutes, if you're lucky, you know? So there's a lot of this begging for coins. It's not just about money. It's about the thirst and the hunger of the human identity to keep itself going, to have a break. Now, in the Samadhi and the End of Suffering video, we talk about how when you're in the rest and digest and you're in the solo space of really diving deep within yourself, a lot of energy is running through your body, right? You say you're relaxing, but that's what, as you relax, that's when the most pranic life force energy is running through you. It's where energy and consciousness are coming together, and it's very intense. So the way people take a break is to turn the stone to bread and go devour it. And then they're going, oh, wait, I'm totally unsatisfied. In fact, I digested that loaf of bread so quick, where's the next one? Right? The eating, consuming, looking for love outside yourself over and over again. Post another selfie with your hair and makeup done. Attention, right? If you have a deep, I'm making this modern, right? Modern context. If you have a deep realization for yourself, if it's not related to your ego, you won't have any desire to post it in that way. I'm going to leave it there, right? So the devil tries to tempt him again. And Jesus said unto him again, dear cosmic delusion, dear devil, dear Satan, it is written again, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. So then the devil takes him up to another mountaintop, another higher mountaintop. And cosmic delusion, Maya says, all these things I will give thee if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Right? So this is a parable. The devil says, I'll give you everything you could ever want in your physical world. You'll have all the loaves of bread you want. You'll have all the sexual partners and boyfriends you want. You'll have all the popularity on your social media forums that you want. You'll have all the money in your bank account that you want if you worship me. Right? That's the cosmic delusion. That's Maya. Right? So in my pile of books over here, I have my own book, A Modern Self-Realization Story, and I talk about all the times that I did bow down to the cosmic delusion to get what I needed. More drugs for my drug addiction. Okay, I'm not addicted to drugs anymore. I'm addicted to success, right? A better title, higher paying job, more status and respect in my community. Bowing down to the cosmic illusion, getting married to a guy so I wouldn't be alone and I'd have the perfect fairy tale lifestyle, right? That's Jesus saying, okay, okay, Satan, now all my needs will be met in this cosmic delusion, right? Think about it though, from a human perspective. It's like all your needs will be met through this, in this physical world, in this relative reality, if you worship me. People worship duality. They worship relative reality. They worship getting energy from an outside source, right? Or you can be starving and thirsty and stay committed to your true nature and true voice. You can see why it's temptation, right? This temptation to go out and get angry at me. Someone sent me an article from the Crimson Circle magazine in which people were going after Jeff. My heart hurts for that. People who have given up their entire lives, right? Sacrifice all of who they are to put these materials out, and people are dumping garbage on them. They're not perfect. No, neither am I, right? But it's like not valid feedback. It's you going into the temptation. And then the temptation on the other side is someone throws a stone at you, right? The temptation is to throw one back. That's bowing down and saying, okay, great, Satan, cosmic delusion, you're in charge, right? So this is a parable. There's a lot in this, right? It may make you feel really good to shoot an email back out and say, blah, blah, right? But those are the three coins when you could have the whole treasure, right? You'll feel really high and good, and you'll have pushed off the bottom of my dead, limp body, or whoever you went after, and you'll feel really high for a little bit, and then the bread will digest, and then you'll need another piece of bread. So you have to go get mad at somebody else and create a whole nother story to reinforce your identity. This is really sneaky, right? It sounds really simple, and I'm telling it to you, but half the people who say they get this are still doing it. So then Jesus tells him one more time, because he says everything 3 times, right? He says, "Get thee hence, Satan," cosmic delusion, "for it is written, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve." So a while back, Katumi found this song by Bob Dylan, and it says, you got to serve somebody. And he said, we're not going to put any posts up. You just got to figure out which God you serve, right? Do you serve the God of your bank account, happy when it's full and sad when it's done? Do you serve the God of image? You feel confident when you're skinny and miserable when you're fat? You see what I'm saying? It can be anything, right? What Jesus is saying the only person you need to serve is yourself. In the end, it's between you and God. You and your God self. You, little you, and big you. In the end, that's who it's between. And that's exactly what Jesus was saying. And that's exactly what samadhi is. You no longer have a temptation to turn the stone into bread. You no longer have a temptation to try to fill yourself up by getting attention from other people. It could be good attention or bad attention. It could be getting it from someone of the opposite sex or the same sex if you're attracted to the same sex. Having someone adore you, or sending ugly emails to have someone hate you. It's all the same thing. Criticism and praise are the same energetic stream. They're the temptation to turn the stone into bread. Right? And after Jesus says, be gone, Satan, be gone, cosmic delusion, right? The cosmic delusion is separation, or Maya, right? And after he says that, all his needs are attended to. In the story, all his needs are attended to by angels. But this is where the treasure comes in, right? You stay true to yourself, and all your needs will be met, right? But what happens is you guys don't have any patience, right? So you stay true to yourself, and all your needs will be met, and the creative solutions will be there. But what you go do is go grab at the 3 coins, because that may be all you'll get, right? Oh, there's a penny on the ground. I'm going to go elbow somebody out of the way to pick it up. I see this with people. I'm going to give a parable, but it's like if there were a buffet of food, I see the type of people who would push their way to the front so they could fill their plate up first. I see that in Patreon, for fuck's sake. All right, Mr. Yogananda, what else you got here? He says, Yogananda says, even a Superman, even enlightened Superman, even a Superman, even though he is fixed in a high state of consciousness by deep meditation or deep connection with self, is still subject to temptations of the cosmic delusion. So as long as he dwells in the realm of Maya. So what he's saying is most people have the realization and peace off of planet Earth, right? But as long as you're here, there will be temptations, right? I have a pattern every summer. I give up and I say, okay, I'm going to accept. I get asked out on dates, not all the time, but sometimes. And we're all running around in our bathing suits all the time, so you know how it goes. And this summer, I'm not going to do that, right? Because it's like the definition of insanity. You keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. That is the definition of insanity, right? And it's like there's nothing in me that will allow me to mix what's going on here, allowing this life force pranic energy to flow through me, mix that with someone in a rough energy. And I'm not just talking about humans, I'm talking about people in their awakening and people even after realization who haven't allowed all of this to coalesce, energy and consciousness to coalesce. Right? So he's saying as long as you're on earth, there will be temptations. Yogananda was sued by his best friend who helped run his ashram in Los Angeles, California while he was out traveling. The temptation there to get angry and be mad, right? He didn't write about it in Autobiography of a Yogi, but it happened. He was heartbroken that his friend would sue him to lay ownership over something he built, right? And he had to start over from scratch. He had to shut everything down and start all over again. He actually went away to Mexico after that happened, and he begged his God self, please let me out of this teaching thing. I don't want to do this anymore. And he says the great cosmic mother pulled him back to America by his ear, and he had to start all over again. He had to shut everything down and start all over again. Now, I haven't been at that magnitude, but I've had to shut down everything and start over again, and in January we'll be doing it again, except this time I know what I'm doing. I'm getting rid of the 3 coins and waiting for the treasure. So, right? So the cosmic delusion of this metaphysical Satan, this Satan, instigated psychological temptations of beastly passions, of cunning allurements of power, right? This temptation to be in power, I'm going to keep my Patreon page and be in my powerful role. No, I'm going to bow to the God also and see how I want to share moving, how the God also wants to share moving forward, right? If the ego and we're fixed, instead of the we go, I would argue and say, no, we're keeping our Patreon page and then but how will I pay my bills? How will I pay my bills? Right? That would be the ego. The ego says, all right, God, I'm along for the ride. Put your hands up, say, wee. All right. Right? So he's talking about allurements for power and possessions, right? A house to live in. I just need a little house to lay in, right? Some of you, that God also says, okay, we need to move on from this karmic relationship, right? But the relationship is the 3 coins. And on the other side of it is the treasure. Cunning allurements for power and possessions, and of fierce mortal desires issuing from physical pain and hunger, right? I'll do anything to make this pain stop, this emotional pain, this physical pain. I'll do anything, begging for the coin. When it's like, okay, if you just become comfortable in the uncomfortable, all your needs will be attended to. The life force gets re-channeled. Thank you, Mr. Yogananda. Adyashanti does a great job of talking about the stone to bread story when Jesus comes out of the wilderness, right? So let's talk about things really, really, really simply. Okay, so Katumi gave me this image in Channel 5 of the Living in the Garden of New Life series. And there's a woman on a bridge, right? And on the right side is relative reality, earth, duality, real illusion. And on this other side is absolute reality. And the woman sitting in the middle of the bridge, and this is being embodied consciousness on earth, right? She gets pulled to the right. Oh, another family drama, a health issue, my bank account's empty. And absolute reality is that omniscient omnipresence that you had before you came into physical form. For each and every one of us, myself included, there was a hesitation before you were born into this lifetime. Can I really give up my omniscient omnipresence? My formless state would be on time and space where everything is just so free. Can I give it up? And you answered yes, or you wouldn't be here, right? So in the body, there are energetic channels, right? So I'm going to talk about them in kindergarten terms, right? So say you're attending to physical reality needs. Outside, this always includes situations in time. There's a spatial component, and there's a component of other people. You're seeing people as other people. And so you channel your life force energy to animate your fictional persona, Lauren, unrealized Lauren, interacting in the cosmic delusion that is Maya, right? Or you hit the eject button and you just connect with the part of yourself that's beyond time and space and without physical form. And you're just in la la land, right? To inhabit your consciousness in full luminosity, you need to tap into the central channel. You can call it Sushumna if you want, or you could just say it's the central channel. Your life force energy runs here, and it will bring you to a space, where you still have situations, people in a spatial element, time element, and a space element, and a gravity element, right? But the people you interact with will be you. Bond screen, the sovereign screen of creation, sovereign mind, sovereign body. For those of you whose mind is still going, the mind actually really, the chit-chat, the mind really wants to come along. What you're hearing in your mind is the fictional personality identity trying to grab your attention and pull you this way over the bridge, back into the world of external people, situations, time, and space, in which there's only one outcome: conflict and drama, right? But you came here to be here on earth and to interact. But you can go out in the world from the central channel. So we talk about this in the Samadhi and the End of Suffering video. It's on the website for $55. It's an hour and 20 minutes. It's an audio. It has a PDF, and it has a video that Aaliyah edited, so it looks pretty. I know that's important to a lot of you guys. And the sound quality is better as it can be from not having a studio. You know, you get what you pay for. There's no studio here. I am not the Crimson Circle, nor do I want to be, nor does my God self want that to happen. Because as soon as you start getting fancy, then there's people around you, and then there's the personality dynamics, and you know, just when I think we're over it, here we go again. All right. See if I can get everything in. So in that Samadhi video, I talk about where energy and consciousness meet. They meet in the in-between. let's think about things that are in between. That moment you wake up in the morning when you're moving from sleep state to awake in the relative reality state, right? What a beautiful thing sleep is. It allows you to become formless once again, back in the omniscient, omnipresent, oceanic self, right? But there's so many beautiful things coming together, energy and consciousness coming together in that in-between state. Sunrise, that moment before the sun comes up or hits down, right? Sunrise and sunset. These little in-between phases are where it's a symbol for where energy and consciousness meet. I talk about this in the Samadhi video, but I also wrote about it in my book. Now, I didn't tell you this is what's happening, right? Because when I wrote my book, my goal, my intent was to show, not tell. I went to writing classes before I wrote this, and it was show, don't tell, show, don't tell. And no one wants to read a how-to book. It's so dry and boring, right? So in the chapter, (17), the final let go, I describe my realization as best as I can, and I actually had to ask my God self permission for what I could include and what I couldn't include. Some of it was just too much to share, too sacred to share. You've all had experiences like that. Like the really grand experiences are not going on your social media page because it's between you and you. It's between lower self and the God self. So I talk about energy and consciousness. I show it coming together, right? Because that, for me, that's what realization really was. I learned the difference between I am God consciousness and soul energy. I thought that my soul was consciousness. After my realization, or during my realization, I realized that the soul was simply energy and consciousness was something else entirely. That's when I met the God also, and I crapped my pants because I thought I knew what I was talking about, but I had no idea what I was talking about. I love those moments when I just get slammed with a wave of humility, and it's like, oh my God, I had no idea what I was talking about. Now I do. The ego doesn't like that, but the we-go thrives in it. So in the book, I'm not going to read too much, I promise. I talk about, let's see. Katumi's telling me what to read, and I'm arguing with him. When you see me pause, I'm having a full-on conversation. Right. Katumi's winning this argument. Before I reached this trailhead of my own divinity, I stood upon the threshold of my humanity, the trailhead of forgiveness. I allowed the dragon, which guards its gates, to breathe the fires of forgiveness into every corner of the edges of the universe of me, igniting and destroying any perceived wrongdoing from every lifetime and in between. The greatest of all shames, too, was incinerated, the shame of being human in the cosmic delusion. In the tsunami of fire, I embraced my human nature. I allowed myself to be an animal chasing its desires with reckless abandon. Yet in this self-given freedom and with every path that lay open before me, I chose God. And in choosing God, I was choosing me. Just like the Jesus story. He had every path laid before him by the devil, and he still chose God. I wrote, with every path that lay open before me, I chose God. And in choosing God, I was choosing me. And in the end, like anything else, it was never a choice, but a passion, the passion of the Christ, the passion that created the path in reverse. In knowing the threshold of forgiveness is marked by the element of fire, and our humanity is marked by the element of earth, then crushing the threshold of my divinity, or removing the border that held it locked up so tightly is marked by the elements of water and air. If I had the will to follow blindly the flow of my soul's river of wisdom, the vision of both my divinity and humanity would come to light. They would converge, coalesce, unite. Then and only then would the opportunity to fly present itself. If I did not have to jump off the cliff, I soared. Jesus is back up on the mountaintop. And the devil says, I'm not going to let you down. You're going to have to fall down. I did not have to jump off the cliff. I soared. Inhale. This occurs at the top of the inhale. 2 points spiraling along the infinity symbol meet in the middle once again. They are the merging of human and divine, of energy and consciousness. And now they are the merging of soul and source, energy and consciousness. So many realities and sensations flow together in a single point of consciousness. Yo soy el punto. I am the point. Exhale. So this is how when I was going through my 3-day realization, 72 hours of fun and crapping your pants and being terrified, holy crap, right? These moments, I'm writing them down. They happened at the top of the inhale. Energy and consciousness are coming together. Exhale. I can't read it like that, but that's how all this information from this book is coming in. They weren't happening in the inhale or the exhale. They were happening between the points of the inhale and the exhale, which is where energy and consciousness combine. Yogis know this. Yeshua knew this because he trained for all of this in India with Mahavatar Babaji, who works with us here in all of our shares. All right. So I said inhale. I read you what happened. Exhale. Then we have another inhale. When the two connect, I'm talking about energy and consciousness, soul and source, human and divine. When the two connect, they create something beyond love. And it is felt anywhere a tiny spark of consciousness exists. Exhale. End of chapter. For more, I go back and read this from time to time. I'm self-conscious. I go back and read my books to see if they still stand. Have I grown so much that I won't like what I wrote anymore? Will it seem childish and ridiculous? Not in this one. This has so much in it. I even go, oh, crap, So, that is our Summer of Softness Series Song, Truth Speak conversation with those surrounding the truth and letting it shine through. And I am love with you. You don't need to turn the stone into bread. You don't need to grab the coins, right? The treasure is right there. So if you want to dive deeper into this, several options. Adyashanti's audiobook, I've read it in physical form, but his voice is just so good and his passion comes through the voice. And really you can feel a transmission happening beyond the words. So I recommend the audiobook. It's like $10. Don't be cheap. You guys can be really cheap sometimes. Adyashanti's book, you'll listen to it 20 times. It'll be like $2 a listen. 50 cents. Katumi corrected my math. 50 cents a listen, right? And then, now some of these, this is probably not your thing because you're not a geek like me. I spend days in there. I spend days in those books. This is a little bit more user-friendly, The Yoga of Jesus. This is Paramahansa Yogananda. It's this size, and a lot of the stuff like science coming along and a lot of things that you're going through will be in here. Like if you listen to the Resurrecting Jesus book, you can see which part you're in of the story you're in 2 weeks I'll have another Yeshua story, and we'll be in the Garden of Gethsemane, and I will tell you my story and his story and how they connect, and hopefully that will help you feel into your own personal Jesus, because you are the second coming of Christ. You are, and I am. Another resource. There's a really great movie with Rooney Mara and Joaquin Phoenix, and it's called just Mary Magdalene. And to me, it's a beautiful portrayal of what Mary Magdalene was truly like. And Joaquin Phoenix does an excellent job of playing Jesus or Yeshua. And Mary Magdalene's role leading up to the crucifixion is how I feel I work with clients, you, grand beings. How I sit with grand beings is truly be able to witness and see. When I do the truth sessions, I'm able to witness and see your grandness. And it's like the way Rooney Mara portrays Mary Magdalene, and that is so capturing of what she was really like. And I know intimately. Further, we talk about this rechanneling of energy away from the cosmic delusion and without ejecting into the absolute reality in our Samadhi and the End of Suffering video. That's going to be up for another 2-3 weeks. Then it'll come down because we're going to be putting it into a larger program. I am in love with you. Namaste on earth. Oh, if you guys are taking yourselves too seriously, to really loosen up all the stuff going on in the body, you gotta laugh. Gotta laugh. All right. No frills.